Greetings, everyone. I'm new to this platform, and I'm excited to share my very first video with you. Today, I'll be exploring some passages from the Tui Bei Tu that resonate with our present times and offer insights into the future. Tui Bei Tu is known for its symbolic representation of the ebb and flow of history, particularly within China, in its later verses T. Here are messages that some interpret as the arrival of a figure who will weave together the ancient wisdom of the East with the broader tapestry of human history, helping us to see the unity that underlies our diverse paths. It's important to approach these prophecies with the understanding that they stem from the belief that the universe is divinely designed. This perspective sees human history as being guided by a higher power, with various spiritual insights left for us by different cultures throughout the ages. Since Tui Bei Tu is focused on predicting changes in dynasties, it often refers to key figures or significant events of those times. In the part I'll be discussing today, there's even a connection to current global leadership, but it's crucial to approach these interpretations with an open mind. Today, I'll be focusing on the 43rd verse of the Tui Bei Tu. I've noticed that many people interpret this verse as being about the relationship between certain regions, but I believe that interpretation might miss the mark. This is why I feel it's important to offer my own understanding, as misconceptions can lead to confusion, both among individuals and on a larger scale. In this video, I'll share what I believe is the true meaning behind this verse and how it might relate to our world today and in the future. I'm excited to dive into this with you and explore these intriguing prophecies together. Due to the astonishing accuracy of the Tui Bei Tu in predicting past events, the order of its prophecies has been intentionally scrambled by later generations. This has made an already difficult to decipher text more challenging. The confusion is particularly strong with the final prophecies. That has led many to mistakenly believe that human history will continue for a long time. Today, I will approach this from the perspective of a spiritual practitioner, attempting to reorder the remaining prophecies of the Tui Bei Tu. My primary focus is on helping everyone decipher the 43rd hexagram, which has been widely misunderstood and misinterpreted. Chapter 57. There's no need for much explanation here. If you're watching this video, it's because of destiny. In this grand cosmic play, everything and everyone, when they appear, what they do, has been meticulously arranged. This concerns the safety and well-being of all beings in the universe. So, if you understand, please subscribe and share. Chapter 48. This chapter predicts the current situation in mainland China. The snake in the illustration represents the current emperor, while the dragon in the sky symbolizes the emperor's celestial counterpart. It also reflects the current fate of mainland China. There's a saying among the Chinese, in the sky, it's an image. On the ground, it's a form. This is roughly the meaning. Since today's focus isn't on interpreting this chapter, I won't go into more detail. Chapter 46. This chapter talks about the possibility of a coup. There's no need to elaborate on this either. Chapter 45. This chapter discusses events connected to the previous one. The illustration is too obvious. Two people, each holding a spear, one in front of the other, pointing at the sun. Chapter 49. This prophecy foretells the unification of China. I want to explain this in detail. Everyone can take their time to observe. Chapter 43. This is the prophecy I want to focus on today. It predicts that Falun Gong will return to mainland China. We will analyze this in detail shortly. Chapter 44. This prophecy indicates that Falun Gong will once again flourish in mainland China. Chapter 47. This prophecy suggests that Falun Gong will rise worldwide. Chapter 58. This prophecy states that due to the spread of Falun Gong, humanity will cease warfare. However, the world is not yet at peace. There may still be widespread plagues. Debts must be repaid, and a large number of deaths may occur. I won't elaborate further on this. Chapter 59. This prophecy speaks of the return of all spiritual paths to their origin. The remaining people will revere the Savior, and the world will have achieved peace. Those who remain are truly blessed. Chapter 60. This prophecy speaks of the beginning of a new era, a wondrous holy realm that only those who remain will have the fortune to witness. Those who understand should seize the time to cultivate, regardless of nationality or race. What follows are historical events that have already occurred, so I will briefly touch upon them. Chapter 40. 1, 2, 3, 4. No land, but with a ruler. This refers to the Republic of China retreating to Taiwan during Chiang Ching-kui's era, after 4 presidents. Although the Republic of China lost the mainland, it remained one of the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council and was still recognized as the only legitimate government representing China. Hence, no land, but with a ruler. Born of a monkey, died by an eagle, refers to the period from Yuan Shikai, the first president of the Republic of China, to Nixon's visit to China. The Americans supported the government of mainland China, leading to the People's Republic of China replacing the Republic of China as the sole legitimate government of China in the United Nations. At this point, the Republic of China faded from the global stage. When wood and child meet, frost melts, means that if a sage with the surname Li appears, Taiwan will remain safe despite crises. In Prophecy 42, there's a prediction about Tsai Ing-wen governing Taiwan. If you look closely at that prophecy's image, there's a rabbit, symbolizing the same person as wood and child here. It also mentions danger, yet no danger. I won't elaborate further. Those interested can research on their own. Though small, Taiwan is very significant in the eyes of the prophets, occupying 2 prophecies. Chapter 54. This prophecy refers to Deng Xiaoping's era of reform and opening up when he held actual power in China. By this time, China had abandoned Mao's path but didn't explicitly say so. Deng Xiaoping's famous saying, "It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. It's a good cat," describes his reforms as capitalist within a socialist system. Hence, whether cow, rat, or sheep, people couldn't quite define it, so they simply called it socialism with Chinese characteristics. Chapter 53. This prophecy describes the situation during Hu Yaobang's leadership of China. At that time, the country truly appeared to be thriving, with a sense of vigor from top to bottom. Chapter 52. This prophecy refers to the era of Jiang Zemin's rule in China. During his leadership, Falun Gong also emerged in China and rapidly spread across the world, like a flash of lightning that moved so quickly people barely had time to react. 2 vastly different ideologies arose simultaneously, having a profound impact on the entire country and even the world. Hence the phrase heaven and earth remade. The Bible says, "For as lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." Chapter 41. This prophecy speaks of the situation when Jiang Zemin suppressed Falun Gong. It was truly a time of darkness and turmoil. In the image of the previous prophecy, the sun is still overhead, but in this one, the sun is already trampled underfoot. Only those who lived through it can truly feel the pressure of that time. Chapter 55. This prophecy describes the situation during Hu Jintao's leadership of China. The great tree was about to fall, but the gentleness of Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao helped stabilize the domestic situation. At that time, Hu Jintao proposed the idea of no unnecessary disruption, which even stumped translators. Of course, it wasn't their fault. They couldn't support the tree that was already on the verge of falling. Chapter 51. This prophecy refers to Peng Liyuan assisting Xi Jinping in his anti-corruption efforts, which gained widespread support from the people. Chapter 42. This prophecy speaks of the cross-strait relations during Tsai Ing-wen's leadership of Taiwan. Chapter 50. This prophecy foretells the death of Jiang Zemin and the subsequent shifts in mainland China's political landscape. Jiang Zemin's passing is critical to the fate of the current leader. If the leadership had taken the opportunity to sever ties with Jiang's political legacy, the current situation could have been vastly different. But history has no what-ifs. The current leader failed to do so, and this is the true meaning of desiring to end, but not fully ending from Prophecy 43. Since they didn't take action, someone else will inevitably step in. However, Failing to act also carries responsibility, leading to the outcome of though thousands do not die, one cannot escape. Now, the leader's fate is tied to Jiang Zemin, which is the fundamental reason for his current abandonment. One more point. Humanity is in a unique period, and events may not unfold entirely as originally planned. So, there's no need to overly focus on interpreting prophecies. That said, given how accurate Tui Bei Tu has been, it's wise to not dismiss it either. It's better to believe in its possibility than to deny it outright. Alright, without further ado, let's begin interpreting Tui Bei Tu chapter 43 to first. Let me clarify. This prophecy is not about cross-strait relations, as many believe. It actually predicts that Falun Gong will return to mainland China. Since it has been more than 20 years since Falun Gong was suppressed, my interpretation of this prophecy will now be easier for everyone to understand. Tui Bei Tu is different from other prophecies in that it uses 60 illustrations to predict events throughout history. Alongside these illustrations, there are hexagrams, enigmatic phrases, and verses to further explain the images. So, when interpreting Tui Bei Tu, the image is the primary focus. Let's first examine the image. An elderly man in official attire raises his right hand above his head, his eyes fixed on a plainly dressed man, stepping sideways as if trying to stop the commoner from moving forward. Another plainly dressed young man, smaller in stature than the official, also appears to be moving forward. The difference is that the younger man walks upright, facing forward. The composition centers on the plainly dressed man. Behind him, there are two large black dots and two small black dots, suggesting that the commoner has been beaten or oppressed. As I mentioned, this prophecy foretells the return of Falun Gong to mainland China, following years of persecution. In this context, the meaning conveyed by the image aligns with my analysis. Both figures in the image are in motion, implying that the final outcome remains uncertain. Now, let's examine the hexagram. It is the ding, ding hexagram, which signifies stabilization and transformation. Wind is below and fire is above. Fire fuels wind, and wind strengthens fire, implying a spreading effect. Since Tui Bei Tu emphasizes the image, the hexagram, enigmatic phrase, and verse serve to explain the image from different angles. From the hexagram's perspective, the plainly dressed man represents a gradual stabilization of change. Next, let's look at the enigmatic phrase, which means the ruler is not a true ruler, and the minister is not a true minister. Those who interpret this prophecy as referring to cross-strait relations likely focus on this line. I won't make a definitive judgment on that interpretation here. However, from this phrase, we can understand that their roles are reversed. The minister is deceiving the ruler. Begins in hardship, ends in stability. Based on this and the image, we can reasonably interpret it as follows. The persecuted side faces great difficulties in the beginning, but will eventually overcome the oppression and return to its rightful position as ruler. If this prophecy were about cross-strait relations, a reasonable interpretation would be that the Republic of China, despite being suppressed, would gradually find an opportunity and eventually reclaim its position as ruler. But this doesn't reflect reality, does it? In reality, the current Taiwanese government no longer seeks to reclaim mainland China. They only want independence. This contradicts the enigmatic phrase and makes such an interpretation implausible, but that's why I argue that this prophecy is not about cross-strait relations. Furthermore, the two sides don't have a ruler-minister relationship. Both the Republic of China and the People's Republic of China still exist as official state titles, each with its own set of government institutions, both functioning normally and governing their respective territories. The only overlap is in their constitutional claims, which encompass nearly the same territory, hence the idea of one China. So how do we explain the phrase, the ruler is not a true ruler, and the minister is not a true minister? Whether or not you practice Falun Gong, many of you may have heard the saying that the founder of Falun Gong, Mr. Li Hongzhi, is considered the creator. There are also many people who have rejected or even mocked this idea. I'm not forcing anyone to believe it. However, if this prophecy, as I've interpreted it, is about Falun Gong returning to mainland China, then this enigmatic phrase becomes easy to explain. Since Mr. Li Hongzhi is said to be the creator, think about it. If the entire universe was created by him, then the kings on earth are merely beings he arranged to govern a piece of land during a specific period. From the perspective of the creator, the kings are not truly kings, and the ministers are even less truly ministers. The relationship between ruler and subject no longer applies. That's why the phrase says, the ruler is not a true ruler, and the minister is not a true minister. As for begins in hardship, ends in stability, it means that from the very beginning, Falun Gong faced great difficulties, especially after the persecution began, when it truly struggled. But in the end, Falun Dafa will achieve the success of rectifying the Far universal law. This turning point began with Jiang Zemin's death in 2022. Let's continue by looking at the verse: "Black rabbit enters the green dragon's cave. Though it seems to end, it does not, yet cannot be spoken of. Only the roots outside on the tree. After 30 years, descendants are formed." Most people interpret the phrase, "Black rabbit enters the green dragon's cave," as referring to the transition from the year of the rabbit to the year of the dragon. This interpretation is not wrong. It does carry that meaning. The beauty of history lies in such coincidences. As I've been saying, because Falun Gong has been persecuted for so many years, these phrases are now easier to understand when we look back. For those who enjoy deciphering prophecies, let me give you a hint. The rabbit is a symbol that appears repeatedly. Many Eastern and Western prophecies and religious symbols use it to secretly refer to the Savior. For example, the rabbit as a symbol in Western Easter celebrations carries this implication. It's a key to solving the mysteries of human society and an important message for humanity's salvation. And Mr. Li Hongzhi was born in the year of the rabbit. He has been spreading his teachings to the world, but he has also been slandered. When people think of a rabbit, they often picture a white, clever, and cute animal with big ears. So the black rabbit is easily explained. It refers to the slandering of the rabbit, or more specifically, the defamation of Mr. Li Hongzhi and the Falun Gong he advocates. This symbolism of being wrongfully blackened is significant. Someone even shouted in a movie, "Free the rabbit!" Ironically, in that same movie, the rabbit on the moon is also depicted as being blackened. As we know, the jade rabbit in the moon palace with Chang'e is supposed to be white. The green dragon represents the snake, but it could also symbolize the land of the dragon, China. Personally, I lean towards interpreting it as the snake, which refers to the year of the snake. Therefore, interpreting the phrase as a transition from the year of the rabbit to the year of the dragon is possible, but it's not entirely accurate. The true result will be seen in the spring of the year of the snake. Falun Gong was introduced in 1992, making it exactly 30 years until 2022. That year, Jiang Zemin also passed away. It would have been an excellent opportunity to resolve the persecution of Falun Gong. Unfortunately, the current authorities did not take that action. From the perspective of the prophecy, the phrase, "though it seems to end, it does not, yet cannot be spoken of," suggests that at the special moment of Jiang Zemin's death, there should have been discussions at the higher levels. Perhaps the discussion did not reach a conclusion and was ultimately overruled by greater powers. Only the roots outside on the tree. After 30 years, descendants are formed. Although Falun Gong originated in mainland China, its founder, Mr. Li Hongzhi, settled abroad. During the more than 30 years of persecution, people abroad have continued to practice Falun Gong. According to the prophecy, it is now time for him to return to China. As it is already 2024, it remains uncertain whether the persecution has ended or not. Additionally, let me clarify why this prophecy does not pertain to Taiwan. The phrase "after 30 years, descendants are formed" does not make sense when applied to Taiwan. Therefore, I can state with confidence that this prophecy is not about Taiwan. Recently, on June 25, 2024, the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously passed the Falun Gong Protection Act, which has now become U.S. law. Even now, there are still some people online who slander Falun Gong. I believe this legislation will have an impact on those who understand its significance. Whether this long-standing persecution will come to an end remains uncertain. but no individual can stop it. China has never lacked righteous forces. China is a nation chosen by heaven. We Chinese people all hope for a fair and just living environment. Belief in heaven's way is woven into the very fabric of every Chinese person's being. We should have enough confidence in China. When we reincarnated in China, we saw it as a place of hope. The entire universe has been preparing for this matter. So how could there not be arrangements made? It is merely a process of genuine testing for everyone. Extremes turn into opposites. The situation will soon change. Everyone should be mentally prepared. A grand and unprecedented transformation is about to begin. All right, I have provided a clear explanation and analysis of the most exciting and climactic parts of the Tui Bei Tu prophecy. How you interpret it is up to you. One thing is certain, history does not change because of different interpretations. What the Creator wants cannot be altered by anyone. History will be astonishingly similar, but it will never simply repeat itself. The scene of Jesus being crucified will never play out again. Similar to the phrase in the prophecy, the ruler is not a true ruler, and the minister is not a true minister. Begins in hardship, ends in stability. There are echoes in the last two lines of the 10th poem of the Meiwa Shi by Shao Yong from the Song Dynasty. In the world, there will be a time of peace. Who is the host and who is the guest in the four seas? Those interested can check out the Meiwa Shi. For friends interested in my videos, please continue to follow my channel. I will soon start my series of videos titled, Why Open the Heavens? Themes in a Complex World. I will reveal the origins of the Open the Heavens legend, the origins of humanity, and the true meaning of human life.